You ever see an opportunity and think that's too good to be true? Read through the fine print and find out more about it, while you wait with bated breath for when it turns out that you're right. Here's a piece of advice for you. I'm sure you've heard it before, I did too, and yet here I am. When something seems too good to be true, it is. Here I am, 9 more hours sitting at this desk watching security feeds. Then I get to go home and wonder why the heck I believed that this overpaid and seemingly easy security position didn't come with a catch. Why I didn't notice all the red flags in between seeing the offer online and getting here. Why I genuinely believe I'll be lucky enough to have a chance to regret my decision after my shift. Let's go back to earlier today. There I was, switching between browsing Reddit and flipping through local job offers, when a refresh of a local job listing site revealed something new that caught my eye. A basic security position. The job description basically amounted to locking the doors at night, watching security cameras, and calling the company if anything bad happens. And in the description, they said that I would be paid $37 an hour. I was immediately skeptical of the high wage for such a basic security job, especially considering the company had next to no info on the web about it. Their small website had a picture of the founders and outside of their building, but didn't say what they did. However, I had the qualifications from a class I'd taken a year ago, and the possibility of walking away with $300 for a night's work seemed enticing, even if it might have been a scam. I figured it couldn't hurt to send in a resume and see what happened. I got a call from a private number not an hour after submitting my application. The conversation was odd. The person on the other end of the line seemed like they had no experience hiring people before, and their voice seemed somewhat stressed and worried. A couple more red flags, but I was still in the it could be legit, and if it's not, I haven't lost anything yet mindset. I'll try to recreate the phone conversation here.
Hello, is this Christopher? Yes, speaking. Who is this? I work for Security Inc. And I'm Daniel Edwards, head of HR, former head of security. I'm calling because, you submitted an application to us.
Daniel paused. I waited for him to continue, but the silence dragged on a moment too long, and I realized he was done speaking.
What about my application? Oh, we'd like you to come in for an interview. Your credentials looked good. Yeah, you can come to Redacted in 2 hours.
I was surprised. It seemed to me like either A, it was a scam, or B, they needed the position filled fast. Maybe even by tonight. If it was the latter, I was pretty sure I could talk them up to an even higher wage. So I made the decision there. I'd check out the address on a Google Street View and see if there was any other info on it before I went there. And if it seemed off, I just wouldn't show up for the interview.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Daniel hung up the phone before I was even finished speaking. Fast forward to 2 hours. I was arriving at a fenced off property in my city's industrial district, occupied by two buildings. They bore minimal markings and logos, but appeared to be in the fair condition, and supposedly still belonged to the company I was going there to see. I pulled my 2001 Honda Civic through the gate and into the parking lot. Something felt slightly off right away, though I didn't pick up on what it was until later. The parking lot was empty except for one other car. I stepped out and walked to the larger one-story building facing directly onto the parking lot. The door was unlocked, the receptionist's desk sat empty, and I recall noticing that there was dust on the blades of the fan that sat there. There was no email address in the post on the job site, and Daniel had called me from a private number. Unsure what to do, I waited in the small lobby for a few minutes and looked around at my surroundings. The entrance was a single glass door, and the front wall was made up of floor-to-ceiling windows. A metal shutter system rested on the outer wall above the glass, and a control panel on the wall inside. The receptionist's desk sat against the wall opposite to the door. On the other side of the room there were 8 chairs and 2 small coffee tables, complete with old magazines. To the left, a short hallway led past a single door on either side. Terminating at a heavy unpainted metal exterior door bearing dents of various sizes and shapes. For some odd reason, the exterior door made me feel uneasy. All 3 doors contained a single small window, the kind with wire mesh inside, obscured by black paint or cloth on the inside. To the right led another hallway. Oddly enough, I can't recall the length, and I usually have good attention to detail. Was it 4 doors on either side? No. 2? 16 maybe? I'm not even sure it had a length. I didn't look at the end of the right hallway. Behind the receptionist's desk was another longer hallway terminating in a T intersection. The first door on the left was made of brown painted metal and bore a small place card of security office. After waiting for a minute, a man rushed in through the front door. Sorry to have kept you waiting. I'm Joshua Collins, head of HR. He spoke quickly and seemed frantic and skittish. He didn't even hold eye contact for more than a second. As he shook my hand, I could feel that his palms were sweaty and cold. Christopher Newman, I paused for a second, suddenly hit by a wave of skepticism. I decided to test if he could keep his story straight. I spoke to a man named Daniel Edwards on the phone. I thought he was the head of HR. Joshua ignored me and continued. Mr. Newman, my company needs a new security guard fast. The last 2 quit this morning, and we can't afford to go a night without someone watching the property. We've tried to get you here as fast as possible because you'll need to be ready to work by sunset. We're in a rush, so we'll skip the usual process. If you're able to start right now, then you can consider yourself hired. Your salary is $37 an hour, non-negotiable. Sign this NDA and you can start right now. I didn't like how aggressive he was being, but it had showed that I was right. They were looking for a fast, probably temporary hire, and I wasn't about to turn down that kind of money. I flipped through the NDA. It was a long one, so I skipped most of it, but I know how these contracts are. Don't disclose company secrets, yada yada. I signed it and followed Joshua to the security office. The orientation was short and simple. Here's your keychain. This opens the door to the security office. This one opens most of the other offices. This one controls the shutter for the front window. Here's your mag light. You can use it as a baton in a pinch, but you'd better lock yourself in the office and call us if you see anything suspicious. All you have to do is sit in the office and watch the camera feeds. You don't need to patrol since you don't have a partner to watch the feeds when you're gone. We don't provide a uniform, you'll just put a badge on your shirt. Front door is the only door that's unlocked right now. Ignore the other exterior doors and the offices in the long hallway. Lock the front gate, that's it. What's the binder for? I asked, pointed at a white binder on the desk, bearing the company logo. Oh, read that during your shift. Joshua looked uncomfortable at the mention of the binder, and avoided my gaze as he stammered out his reply. He didn't wait to see if I had further questions before he hurriedly left, getting into the only other car in the parking lot, apart from mine, and speeding off. I assumed my security guard role right away. I went outside and locked the gate, closed the metal shutter of the front glass, and locked the front door. Then I sealed myself in the security office and opened up the binder. The binder is what prompted me to write this down. When I opened it, I expected a long, boring write-up of company policy involving various situations that may happen after hours, specific rules for dealing with burglars and vandals, that sort of thing. Instead, there was only one page. What was on that page made me realize that this job was, in fact, too good to be true. And this is why I am genuinely terrified right now. Welcome to Security Inc. There are 10 company rules security personnel must follow in order to ensure their safety and well being. The long hallway is off limits. If you cross the threshold of the lobby, turn around immediately and walk back. Do not run. Do not look at the long hallway for prolonged periods of time. If any security camera shows it, shut it down immediately. Do not open the door at the end of the short hallway. Building 2 is off limits and is to be observed only via Building 2 is off limits and is to only be observed via camera feeds. If you must go outside, use only the front door. The coffee machine will turn on automatically at 2:17 a.m. Ensure a cup is placed beneath it prior to this time. When the liquid is dispensed into the cup, place it outside the door of the security office. Lock the door and do not open it again until 2:37 a.m. Do not leave the security office between 4:01 a.m. and 4:02 a.m. If you hear a female voice coming from an indeterminate point within the building, unlock the door on the left of the short hallway. Do not enter the room unless the voice invites you to do so. Do not look at her face. If you hear a male voice upon unlocking the door, return to the security office immediately. If you feel you are in immediate danger, call this number using the phone in the security office. Do not contact emergency services before sunrise. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to leave Security Inc. before sunrise. I have 9 hours left in this shift. I'd rather walk out of here broke than stick around for the rest of the night. But the instructions made it clear that I'll have to stick it out till morning. Wish me luck. Update. It's 2:15 a.m. It's been fairly uneventful so far, and I hope I don't jinx it by saying that. I've just stayed in the office and I just split my time between watching security camera feeds and browsing Reddit to calm my nerves. It's demon coffee time in 2 minutes. The cup is already in place and I'm hoping everything goes well. Update number 2. 3:30 a.m. Demon coffee disappeared after being left outside the door. I heard something knocking and scratching at the door during the time I was told to keep it closed, though I wasn't able to see it on the cameras. The only one watching the office door started showing the long hallway and I had to turn it off. There is a persistent shadow in the corner of the room that seems darker than a normal shadow. It doesn't go away even when I shine my flashlight at it. The instructions didn't say anything about a shadow, so I am just going to not touch it and occasionally check to see if it changes size or moves or anything. I still haven't heard the woman's voice, and I could have swore I glimpsed a humanoid figure on the Building 2 cameras a few times, though I can't find it when I inspect the feeds more closely. I no longer have even the slightest doubt that this place is haunted as shit. Update 3. 4:29. I was feeling pretty shaken, so I didn't write this up immediately, but there... Update. 4:29 a.m. I was feeling pretty shaken, so I didn't write this up immediately. But here's basically what happened. I'll put it into more detail in my next post. At 3:45, I heard a woman's voice. I was going to ignore it until 4:02, but it got louder and louder until it hurt. and I gave in. She invited me in, but I heard the male voice as soon as I sat down and ran back to the office. As for what happened at 401, I'll write that up later. I'm still really shaken by it. I'll just say I was glad for the reinforced metal door on the office, and I really, really regret taking this job.